thoughts and prayers as people are trying to kind of cope with the losses of life in the day of sports. So moving on to some signings in the NFL. Former Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott broke the news earlier yesterday as he tweeted out that he would be joining the New England Patriots, and he will be wearing his old college football number, number 15, that we last saw in that 2014 playoff run where Ohio State won their last national championship. And I believe that was the first year of the college football playoff. So Ezekiel Elliott heading to the Patriots, pairing up with a running back duo with Stevenson up there, which I think, especially if Zeke can come to camp in shape, that's going to be a really good look for the New England Patriots and their running game. They needed some extra depth. We know Bill Belichick and company have always had a stall full of running backs. They like to use the multiple back system, and I think having more of a downhill runner, a guy that's more physical in between the tackles like Ezekiel Elliott will go good with Stevenson, who's a little bit more of an elusive back, can move east and west, and so they're gonna build a pretty nice tandem there in Foxborough. Another running back that signed in the AFC East is Dalvin Cook, formerly of the Minnesota Vikings. Dalvin Cook, in my opinion, it's crazy to me the fact that the Minnesota Vikings even released him. He's one of the better dual threat running backs in the game. I feel like Dalvin's one of those running backs that's big and stout enough to be a downhill runner, but also being able to catch passes out of the backfield and take it for 70 yards. I remember in that Colts game where the Minnesota Vikings set a record for the 33-point comeback that they had against Indy. He had a little screen pass that he took for like 60 yards to the house and just helped the Minnesota Vikings get right back in that game. I believe that was the touchdown that tied that game against Indianapolis, which, ultimately the Vikings would go on to win in overtime. So, some big signings in the NFL. He signs with the New York Jets 1 year, up to $8.6 million. And to pair him with Breece Hall, he's, again, rookie that's coming off an ACL tear, that's going to be a pretty lethal duo. And, Aaron Rodgers just took that $35 million pay cut, and he did so to bring in talent like this. Breece Hall was going to be the main back there with the Jets. We don't necessarily know if he is going to be ready to play full-time by week 1. And with the Jets and all that they have and all that they have brought in with Aaron Rodgers, the defense that they incorporated last year, that was a top 10 unit, this team is poised to go on a run. And you add Dalvin Cook to the mix with that. He's familiar with Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is familiar with him with their time battling in the NFC North. That, in my opinion, is going to be a really, really big signing. Another story we're going to get into a little bit later, but I'm going to kind of tease it a bit right now, is this whole Michael Oher and the Toohey family. If you ever seen the Blind Side movie, one of the better sports movies out there, apparently it has been a huge lie, a huge facade, and some kind of touching back on some of these running back signings as well. We've been doing divisional breakdowns on my show on the weekend and looking at the AFC East in general. Now that the Patriots have signed Ezekiel Elliott, the Jets have signed Dalvin Cook. Is this one of the better divisions in all of football? Frazier, in your opinion, when you think of all the divisions this year, and obviously the AFC is much more stacked than the NFC. Do you think the AFC is one of, or the AFC East is one of the better divisions in all of football?
Yeah, I mean I'm that's all I'm going to say is yes. I don't know if there's much explanation to put behind it rather than just the amount of just talent that is in that division. I mean, it's more talent than the NFC North, would you say?
The NFC North
Yeah.
with like the Bears and Vikings and stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, oh yeah, I don't think that division is ultra talented by any means. I think the Lions are hands down the best team in that division. But looking at the AFC, I think the only other division that can really compare has to be the AFC North. Because when you can make the argument that every single team can make the playoffs, because, you know, we talked about this, right? When it came to the whole DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes and about why would he choose the Patriots over the Titans, and the primary reason had to do with the quarterback position. But outside of the quarterback position, I mean, the Patriots have a solid team. Like, they have Juju Smith-Schuster and Devontae Parker at wide receiver. Those guys aren't going to, you know, blow off the page, but they also have Hunter Henry at tight end. They signed Mike Gesicki. That might be one of the better 1-2 tight end duos in all of the league. They have a really good defense up there in New England, and I think by far they are the fourth best team in that division. And would it be unrealistic to think that they would have a chance to make the playoffs? I would say not. I would say not. So getting Ezekiel Elliott, and from all accounts, it really seems like he's slimmed down a lot. He looks a lot leaner, a lot meaner. I think he's going to have something to prove, and knowing that he's not going to be the primary back up there in New England. I know that, you know, they've had you know, Penny down there, and or what's the Cowboys situation at running back?
Tony Pollard,
not Penny. Penny, he plays for the Eagles. No, but Tony Pollard, the fact that, you know, they've been splitting carries, but before that, you know, he was looked at as the workhorse back, and now he's going to be up there with Stevenson, and they're going to probably split carries, and we're definitely going to see how that goes. But the big news of today has to do with Nashville SC. We've been talking about it for the past week after that huge win against Minnesota United FC, that if they get this win against Monterey, there is a huge chance that Messi will be coming to Nashville. But yesterday, we were talking about this a little bit, and we got a tweet from somebody that shouted us out for talking about Nashville SC on the radio. But they also took a shot at me, and I took a little bit of offense to that, and I want to set the record straight. We're going to talk about me, Nashville SC, and what Nashville SC can do a little bit more to bring the fans in. You're listening to the Chase McCabe Show here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Are you always on the go? We've got you covered. Download the Game Nashville app from your app store and listen to us wherever you are.
Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad.
It's Chase McCabe.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mace.
Dominic Cavity.
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
Good station. I listen to it all the time.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hang on. It's going to be a wild ride. The PBR team's champions, the Nashville Stampede, are coming home in a run to defend their title.
Yo, we coming.
Stampede Days, August 18th through 20th at Bridgestone Arena. Heart-pounding action you don't want to miss. Tickets start at $20. Get yours today at PBR.com or Ticketmaster.com.
Yo, we coming.
Join us for the ride.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
Every day we are live and local.
You need to give Ryan Tannehill a 2-year extension.
There haven't been too many coaching changes for the Predators.
And your source for Nashville sports.
I think that's what the Titans need.
Players who can score.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. The Suit is in the building.
3-hour lunch, 3-hour lunch, 3-hour lunch.
3 hours. Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The one thing I would say is the position we're in right now, and to Hanny's point, the opportunity that the guys have, and the guys have created, give them an opportunity now to, to really make a bit of a statement. Semi-finals are always difficult games, but you know what? It's great to be in it. We have a wonderful opportunity. We're in good form. We're confident. And guess what? If we get an opportunity to play the game here, I would hope there'll be a real good atmosphere. And our form has been very, very decent of late. So plenty to look forward to.
That was Nashville SC head coach Gary Smith talking about the importance and how big of a stage this semifinal game against Monterey is going to be tonight at Geodis Park. But first, join 102.5 and 106.3 The Game at Door Jam this Saturday, celebrating Vanderbilt sports at the David Williams Recreation Center. The fun kicks off at 2 p.m. and will include autograph sessions, photo booth, and lawn games. Head out there to support Vanderbilt athletics as fall sports return in a few weeks. So I wanted to bring up Nashville SC again today because, one, it's their game day. This is a huge game. This might be the biggest game in all of club history. But also, we were talking about this yesterday as well and what it would mean for the city for Messi to come to Nashville. And we got a response on Twitter from a Nashville SC fan talking about how we were talking about on the radio, but then he put under a con saying that the host that was talking about it does not subscribe to the MLS package. And so here is my response. I have been, since the day I've gotten to Nashville, I have been an avid supporter of Nashville SC. An avid supporter of Nashville SC. And I supported Nashville SC back when they were on ESPN Plus because that is something that I do subscribe to. But here's the problem with not only Nashville SC, but this also kind of has to do with the Predators as well. Not being able to watch your local teams on local TV. I have YouTube TV and ESPN Plus. And between the two of those, I can watch relatively just about any sporting event I want, except for those two teams. And I want to watch those two teams. Back when Nashville SC played on ESPN Plus, I used to put their games on every single time on the road. And I say on the road because I used to go to every single game. We used to be partners with Nashville SC, with the MLS. They bounce from place from year to year. And so we used to have tickets to every single game. And I went to every single game back in 2021 when they played at Nissan Stadium. I lived right across the river, downtown. I would walk over Veterans Memorial for every single game in 2021. I remember when Hany Mokhtar was, before he became MVP Hany, I remember when people used to claim that he was inconsistent, he would have a good game, and then he would choke the other game. I was there for Hany Mokhtar's hat trick within the first 16 minutes of the game. And really, it was between the 10-minute mark and 16 minutes. So he had 3 goals within a 6-minute span to open up the game. I was there for that. I was there in the freezing cold when they beat Orlando City, which I believe is their last playoff win. And when they beat them 3-1. I was sitting in the stands, freezing my tail off, And as well, I also brought my girlfriend at the time. She's now my wife. But I brought my girlfriend's brother at the time, made him sit out in the cold and watch the game as well. I also was watching the game when they choked away the PKs in 2021 against the Philadelphia Union and screaming at the TV for somebody to be able to hit the goal. I was there the opening day against the Philadelphia Union again after that playoff loss for the opening day at Geodis Park. Ended in disappointment with the 1-1 tie, but I was there. And then I went to a couple games after that. I was there when they went down once they went down 2-0 against Atlanta United in that US Open game, Frazier. I don't know if you saw that one, but they were down 2-0, and then it was for a majority of the game. Hani comes out in the second half. I believe it was in one of the 50th minute or something like that, and he scored a goal. And it was 2-1 for most of the game. And in extra time, I think it was in the second minute of extra time, CJ Sapong, which I think is also his last goal with Nashville SC.
It might have been. It was a rarity to see him score.
I think it might have been. Well, when I was going to games, he scored all the time. He was kind of the number 2 offensive option back then. But he scored, tied it, and I think they went into overtime and then won 3-2 after being down 2-0. And after that, wife got pregnant. We had our son. We bought a house. And things get expensive. I'm 26 years old. My finances, my built-up revenue and savings and all that stuff is not like everybody else. And again, when you're in sports, we're here to talk about what you, the fans, want to talk about. And when it comes to prioritizing things at times and paying for things like ESPN Plus, YouTube TV, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, what's the other one? HBO.
Showtime.
Or what is it? Max? Is it Max now?
Max, yep.
Peacock. All these different streaming services. Because listen, I can't just dominate with all sports in my household with our finances. We gotta pick and choose what we can do. So I used to keep up with this team. It used to be so easy and affordable to go watch them at Nissan Stadium. It's a lot more expensive now. It is so much harder to get into Geodis Park. Ticket prices are really expensive. It's tough cooking, man. It's hard to get out there. I also have a kid. I have no family in town. My wife's family's up in New York. My family's up in Kentucky. We don't have family assistance to be able to watch the kid to go out and catch a game anymore. So, with all this being said, I don't like the disrespect from Nashville SC games saying, oh, you got to watch the game, you got to do this. I devote Showtime, my airtime that I have. And if you listen to me and you've heard me before on the weekends, I'm a football guy. I like to talk the NFL. I like to talk and cover the Titans. It's my main love. I've been watching football for years. That's what I do. Hockey comes second. We are the Preds flagship station. And I got to talk hockey, and I love hockey. Hockey's a great sport. It was probably the first sport that I discovered on my own and found love for. Everybody's like, oh, my dad watched football, my dad watched college basketball, all these different things. And, I found hockey because I liked it. I found it interesting. It was different. Nobody in Kentucky watched hockey, and I found it on my own. And I want to say this about Nashville SC. I found that love for soccer because of Nashville SC. I never cared about soccer. The only 2 soccer players in the entire world that I really knew was Messi and Ronaldo. I mean that was really it, Frazier. That was it. I remember, starting here with this company in 2021. And again, back then we were broadcasting the Nashville SC games. And I remember working a tailgate at our tent and tables set up and just seeing the passion of the fans and how people were getting excited and the drum lines and the flags. I mean, flags from all over the world. Some European flags, some South American flags from all those countries, just everywhere. And it really, showed me how soccer can bring people together because it's so culturally universal, with basically everyone worldwide. It's the most popular sport in the world for a reason. And so I remember going to my first game. And, if you remember back then, where you would tailgate around Lot R and you would go up into Nissan Stadium, the first set of seats that you would see is the supporter section on the south side of Nissan Stadium. And I remember sitting there not really knowing. I just saw a bunch of flags on the drum line. I didn't know it was, designated for the support section. But we sat there anyway. And guess what? We got so into the game. They chant the whole time. It's the energy's there the whole time. And when Nashville SC gets a goal, man, the feeling that rushes through you is just something different. It is something different. The fans are something different. And with all of this being said, I grew an appreciation for soccer that I never had. And it was because of Nashville SC. And although I'm not able to watch all the games, I still watch the highlights. I still watch the recap. I still check the score after every single one. But at a certain time, in this world where, everyone's cutting the cord with cable and everything's moving to streaming out. Listen, I don't even like that the Preds are on Bally Sports. I think that's annoying. But guess what? It's my job. I have to watch them. Nobody else puts time for Nashville SC on the radio except for me. I give them significant time every single week throughout the MLS season. And for fans to come and comment on what we do and what we talk about and what I'm able to do, I'm not taking the disrespect. I've been an advocate for this team. I've been a supporter for this team. And before my life switched up, I was a loyal watcher of the game and attendee of the game. And so when people come at me about Twitter about not having the Apple subscription because you have to pay $25 a month to watch a local soccer team, I'm sorry. I will watch the highlights. I'll catch up later, and it will be more affordable and inducive to me. And that's just how it is. But regardless about how I feel about this, we're gonna break into the game because they got a huge game tonight. Monterrey is a really good team. They just beat the defending MLS champions out in LA. This is an opportunity for Nashville SC to get put on a bigger map than what they are just in this country, but maybe outside of this country if they get this win tonight. Because if they do, the likelihood that Lionel Messi will come to Nashville and play against this team is very, very high. So, Frazier goes to the games. He always likes to give us a breakdown. We are going to break down the game, some matchups to look for, some betting odds, game predictions, all of it. Coming up next, right here on 102.5 The Game, you are listening to The Chase McCabe Show.
Nashville's radio version of The Odd Couple.
You would trade for the third pick? Yeah. I don't know that I would do that.
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode.
I'm here for the discussion. I'm not. It's a good one.
It's absurd. Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 9.
Win the games. When they get in the playoff, they'll have a chance to.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is red hot in Music City.
On Wednesday, August 16th.
My God, listen to that.
AEW Dynamite and Rampage invade the Bridgestone Arena for a massive night of elite professional wrestling action in Nashville.
We have got a red hot show in store for you tonight.
Don't miss the AEW World Champion MJF.
I'm better than you.
Chris Jericho in the JAS.
I am the Wizard. I am the Ocho. I am Chris Jericho.
Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Dr. Britt Baker. John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Bryan Danielson, Wheeler Yuta, Chris Statlander, The Acclaim.
Everyone, love!
The Outcasts, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, Keith Lee, Orange Cassidy, Ricky Starks, Adam Cole. Wardlow, Swerve, Hangman Page, Hook, Darby Allin, Sting.
This is Sting!
Nashville's own Jeff and Karen Jarrett, and all your favorite stars will be in action live.
Well, that's you.
Don't miss AEW's only Nashville appearance this year at the Bridgestone Arena. Tickets are on sale now. Go to AEWTix.com. Card subject to change.
33 hours of savings this Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Electronic Express. These deals are so hot they only last 33 hours. Get a TCL 55-inch 4K TV only $269, or an Avanti laundry pair just $379 each. Save up to 50% on 4K TVs, computers, Bluetooth speakers, appliances, and more. Don't miss out on an Avanti top freezer refrigerator only $499, or a Lenovo laptop for only $349. 33 hours of savings this Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Get a great deal on select Kubota equipment, the #1 rated tractor brand for durability and owner experience in the U.S. The versatile lineup is built to help you make the most of your land. Right now at participating dealers, get a Kubota compact tractor for 0 down, 0% APR for 84 months, plus save up to $800 on qualifying implements. Now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com/disclaimers for full disclaimer.
Visit Coleman Tractor, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen. Rounds, ovals, radiance, cushion cuts, pear shapes, emerald cuts, princess cuts.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit 1 per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
It's the latest social networking thingy. We are all over social media. Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame. You can follow me at ChaseOnGame. Also on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville and at the Chase McCabe. See, aren't we cool?
Chase McCabe on 1025 and 1063 The Game.
This is what we're here for. You know, as an organisation, we want to be in a position competing for silverware. If we're going to do that, we've got to put ourselves in these spots. Tough semi-final game, great environment, I'm sure, come Tuesday, and a terrific opportunity and an exciting situation. What we don't know is, you know, this cup competition is obviously in its first year. In years to come, you know, everyone may look back and go, what a fantastic competition this is now. See, everyone has to start somewhere. And if we can be one of those groups that are really making a name for ourselves in this first year, then, you know, maybe that's something we look back in history and we're, you know, very proud of.
Gary Smith talking about the importance of getting a win tonight and how that could really cement Nashville SC in history with the first year of this tournament. And, you know, I got to agree with him. You know, if they get a win tonight, not only is that likely going to bring Messi to Nashville, but it's the first year of this tournament. The MLS is growing. I mean, whether we want to talk about that or not, I mean, it really is growing. I would say back 5-10 years ago, when people used to put the MLS along with the other 4 major sports, I was always like, all right, come on, let's be real. It's the MLS. Like, they're not up there. Everybody comes to the MLS to retire. I always think of David Beckham doing that. But now with how it's grown and how many different cities and the popularity and the fans that get into it, I would say it is starting to kind of get up in that conversation of being with the big 4 professional sports. Maybe not there just yet, but it has definitely grown a ton more. So we're going to get Frazier in on this conversation for sure because, I mean, he's at every single game, sitting up in the press box, at the press conference, breaking down this game. My man played soccer. He knows the ins and out of the game. Unlike me, I played YMCA soccer when I was like 4 or 5. That was about it. But I still learned a lot from watching Nashville SC. I will say that. Going to those games, like I kind of talked about last segment, you know, you learn a lot more about the game. But what I do know is Monterrey, you know, playing in the Mexican Soccer League, they've always been one of the better teams. And isn't Monterey Monterey is where they got Ake Loba? Isn't that where they got Ake Loba from 2020?
I do believe.
I remember that. I do remember that they got him. So the reason this matchup is coming about is because Nashville SC, whipped some tail against Minnesota United 5-0. We talked about that yesterday, but what a lot of people don't understand is Monterey had to kind of have somewhat of a crazy comeback. And we did touch on how they came back from a 2-0 deficit against LAFC out there in LA on the road. But what we didn't mention, though, was how they got that. And I don't know if you actually watched the game, but, they had LAFC had an own goal where they scored on themselves. And then also Monterey had to have a penalty kick as well. So they kind of got a lot of luck in that comeback as well. So do you think that kind of gives them an edge, Nashville SC, to give them an edge, knowing that Monterey likely wasn't supposed to be here at this moment in time?
No, I wouldn't say it'd be luck. I mean, watching the second half of the LAFC Monterey game, you could definitely tell the ageless wonder to some degree. Giorgio Chiellini for LAFC was definitely getting leggy for sure. He was getting exhausted. And just their center back combination was just not there. They were making a lot of defensive mistakes. Passing was not clean like it was. And Monterey took advantage of that. Monterey, Gary Smith said in his presser coming into the match yesterday that this team, Monterey, is a very high-pressed attacking team. Reminded him a lot of the Toluca matchup that Nashville SC had. So there's that aspect of it. I wouldn't say it's luck. Monterey is a very good side, and you have to respect it, obviously. Monterey is second in the Liga MX standings right now, so that has a lot of value to look at. But no, this is a team that you really do have to watch out for. Going up against LAFC last game, they kind of ran a 4 at the back, kind of something like that. They had 2 defensive midfielders, so it was something to really, probably a 4-2-3-1. Excuse me, that's probably what you got to look for when you go against Monterey. 3-1 up top. You have a lot of the midfielders that are going to be, just taking stand at Nashville SC tonight. It's going to be one of those games where you're just going to be glued to the screen. So that's kind of where I'm standing on this. As for Nashville SC coming into tonight's matchup, if I'm Nashville SC's a fan or just seeing it from the outside perspective in, probably look for more of the matchup they had versus Toluca in their starting 11. You have Shaq Moore and Lovitz at the corners at the back. Probably going to have McNaughton instead of Bauer in the middle there. So McNaughton and Zimmerman probably. I'm just doing my expected XI, as some people might say, the starting 11. And then probably Anibal Godoy again in the midfield. And Dax McCarty obviously has just been in phenomenal form recently. I mean, watching that guy play, it's like seeing the fountain of youth. The way he's just putting balls left and right of the pitch in those little small pockets. I don't know if you've read the book. I think it's I Think Therefore I Play. It's by Andrea Pirlo, another midfielder that kind of played this. I mentioned yesterday on the show a mezzala role. It's an Italian, some sort of phrase that kind of detects a midfielder that kind of, passes the ball, dishes it out like a point guard in basketball. So that's kind of what Pirlo played at AC Milan back in the glory days of their European, tenure. So that's kind of what Dax reminds me of from little short stints when they play, as this like kind of mezzala, switch in and out. But yeah, no, in the midfield probably be, Dax, Anibal, and I mean, that third midfielder kind of is up in the air for me. Maybe Sean Davis. That's kind of where I'm leaning. Now as for, the forwards, probably Hani and, I mean, maybe Fafa. I mean, that second striker or that little offsetting striker they have, it could be, I wouldn't want to put out there maybe Sam Surge starts tonight. I wouldn't put that out there just quite yet.
Let Schaffelsberg out there first and then have Surge come in later in the game, maybe around like 60, 70th minute.
The combo they've had recently is just bringing him on around the 65th, 70th minute. It's not a bad look, especially just getting him into form with the team. But, I mean, if he can come off the bench and score goals, by all means, let's keep it that way, due to the fact that you have fresh legs that deep into the game. And if you need a guy to really score a goal, just have him come in. So
I think they need to keep doing what's been working for them in this tournament. Again, MLS play is completely different. Like, if he's in form and he's kind of, adjusted to the chemistry with the team when they go back into actual league play, then yeah, throw him in the starting lineup and then have Shaffelburg come off the bench and late in the game. And especially with Shaffelburg's strength. His strength is his speed and his quickness to get to the ball and create scoring opportunities. That coming off the bench and later on in the game could be a really huge boost to this team. So for me, I kind of want them to kind of stick with what's been working. So I kind of like your philosophy of the starting lineup there, of keeping it how it's going. Sam Sturridge, only been playing in a couple games, although very productive in those couple games. Let's keep it going. I say bring him off the bench because I don't know. I just have a feeling that Nashville SC is going to go down early and want to rally late. I feel like that's how this game is going to go. I don't know about your thoughts and feelings. Like, how do you think this game is going to go, and where are like the key matchups in this game that are going to stick out?
So I think the way this game's going to go, I'm going to just be a bold prediction here. It's going to be 0-0 at halftime. This game is probably going to penalty kicks. It's going to come down to that again, unfortunately. This game is going to be one of those type of feelings where it's a chess match. Who's going to cave first? That's kind of where I'm feeling at this point. Who's going to give up the extra edge of, oh, man, my legs are feeling leggy. Maybe I'm not able to go that extra distance. That's going to come down to the bench. Who's going to be fresh enough to come off the bench and possibly make a difference in this game? So now Nashville SC, they've kind of started out with that target man up top with Teal Bunbury, kind of holding up play, letting space around him open up for Hani to be more creative, along with, Shaffelburg or Fafa, whoever's up there with them. Now, if they end up going with Sam Sturridge to start tonight, that would be kind of a little bit of a shock. But I could understand, too, because the way he possesses the ball at the feet, the way he's able to turn, it's a lot more clean. It's a lot more clean, more confidence. If I'm a Nashville SC fan out there listening, I'd feel more confident in having Sam Sturridge receive the ball at feet, back to goal, and then maybe able to turn left to right to dish out and create more opportunities in the first half if they want to get the upper edge quick. Now, that's kind of where I look at it. Now, the second strength for Nashville SC, and I'll make it quick, is that when they get to set pieces, corner kicks especially, Nashville SC has capitalized on their opportunities, or even if it's, secondary dishes back, like Anibal Godoy versus Cincinnati, the ball was rattled in somewhere in the middle of the penalty box, the goalie's box, and then ended up kicking into the back of the net. Yeah, that's stuff you're going to have to really be able to crash the net. And when you have guys like Walker Zimmerman, Lucas McNaughton, Sam Sturridge, Teal Bunbury, those tall, defensemen and forwards, you have the upper edge. That's where you're able to capitalize on the strengths. And Daniel Lovitz does a phenomenal job assisting balls from the corner flag. I mean, this is where Nashville SC is going to separate themselves offensively when it comes to set pieces. Now, whereas for Monterey, they're going to look for counterattacks. They're going to look for open opportunities where they can just break open in space. And that's where Nashville SC is going to have, their biggest test. Shaq Moore, Daniel Lovitz, their right and left backs, those guys are going to be tested the most tonight, in my opinion.
In my opinion, based off of what you just said, I feel confident that Nashville SC kind of has the favorable matchups in this. When it comes to Nashville SC and the way that they play defense, I like that. And again, it's going to take, somebody on a breakaway, open space in order for them to really capitalize, because they've always played sound defense. I mean, that's always been the heart and soul of this team. Play sound defense. They've always been good, like you mentioned, on set pieces, corner kicks. They've been especially good at corner kicks this year. So I kind of like their odds. If that's what it's going to take for Monterey to really kind of get the edge on this team, I like that. We got a couple texts on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com. One texter, unnamed, said, I appreciate what you were saying about NSC and your experience. I'd love to hear any mention of the team. Glad there's at least one advocate on the station. So we appreciate that. Also, somebody texted and I said, I feel you about the streaming avenues are getting almost as expensive as actually going to the games. I remember when the NFL ticket was $79, and now it's almost a house payment. No, thank you. Things are definitely getting more and more expensive. So going back to this game, though, in particular, the over-under is 2.5 goals. Do you think it's going to hit the over, or is it going to hit the under?
It's going to be close. I say it's if it does finish in regulation, it's 2-1. If it doesn't finish in regulation, it will be 1-1. That's kind of where I'm going at. This. I'm not kidding you, Jimmy. This is going to be an absolute chess match. That's how I look at it from this perspective. Just because the magnitude of this game, semifinals, these teams are going to be playing conservative for the most 10 to 20 minutes. That's kind of at the first start of the game. Now, earlier I mentioned about that third midfielder, and if it's me looking at it from a tactical standpoint, bring in Brian Anunga. He had a phenomenal game last week. Would love to see him start again. I mean, he's that enforcer that ends up, going for the ball. And especially in a gritty game like this, they need to have that extra enforcer in the midfield. Especially we have Anibal Godoy and Dax Carter that will be dishing out the ball and just showing out their creative minds. Would love to see a guy like Brian Anunga come in there. Because when Sean Davis, at times when he did start during this Leagues Cup, there were balls that were 50-50 that were just open, nobody was going to, that he didn't go for. And I just, looking from that perspective, I wouldn't like to see that. I would like to see more of an aggressive, go for the ball. This is a game on the line. The magnitude for the city itself. This game is huge for Nashville as a city. This would be the first championship minus the Predators Conference Championship, isn't that correct?
And the Titans AFC Championship.
Well, I'm talking about in the city though. In the city, like hosted championship. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm leaning towards in this direction. So if this game does go for Nashville SC's, benefit, this is a huge, huge opportunity.
Final prediction, though. Do they get the win tonight?
Yes, they do. If it's in regulation, it is 2-1. If it goes to penalty kicks, they win 5-4.
Okay, there you go. I think Nashville SC is going to get the win today. I just think they're a quicker team. I think they're a better defensive team, and I think that they really want that championship matchup. Like I said, Gary Smith, I feel, is being a little bit more assertive and really honing in on how important this is for this team. And I typically don't hear him do that as much. I think he tries to keep the team a little bit more relaxed, but he's really kind of telling them, hey, let's get this done. You all don't know the impact that this is going to have for not only the city, but for this team in general.
And a little shout out, 3-1. That is my other final prediction. So 2-1, 3-1, and then a 1-1 draw and finish in penalty kicks.
I don't know if that's how predictions work, but we'll take
a three-way option. There you go, three-way option.
A, B, or C. Take one of Fraser's options. I'm definitely going to take the over on 2.5. I think it's going to be a 2-1 victory for Nashville SC. But coming up next, some very odd news coming out of Memphis. We are going to talk about the movie The Blind Side because Michael Orr and the two seem to have become at odds. We are going to explain and get into that next. You're listening to the Chase McCabe.
Make sure that we're developing a team.
And we have you covered.
Could Peter Skoronsky be an option at tackle? How quickly can DeAndre Hopkins get going?
We'll be broadcasting live from training camp with the latest news and storylines from practice.
Ryan Tannehill in the last year of a contract. It's a different team. It's a different roster.
Training camp coverage is brought to you by the Simmons Bank Open, Caudill Vet Clinic, and Parman Energy on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, fun in the sun goes way beyond the white sand beaches. Let's rock out at a waterfront concert at the Sound. Let's marvel at masterpieces of the Chihuly collection and make some flippered friends at the Clearwater Marine Aquarium. Let's pedal the 75-mile Pinellas Trail and stop at Florida's oldest microbrewery along the way. This fall, let's go for all the sun and none of the crowds. Let's shine. Plan your getaway at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Don't miss a minute of football action while getting up close and personal to the future stars of the PGA Tour. Join Penn Entertainment on site at the Simmons Bank Open, promoting Penn Play and their sports online betting platform. Stop by their tent in the Arctic Tailgate Village during the tournament to learn more and have a chance to win some prizes and giveaways. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee. For problem gambling support, call Tennessee Redline, 1-800-899-9789.
Mom, we're out of potato chips.
Teenagers, they'll eat you out of house and home, kind of like health insurance, which can take a big bite out of the family budget. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available.
Can we order pizza?
Visit FBHP.com or your local Farm Bureau office today.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Lebanon now has a new Dunkin' store, and the game invites you to join us this Friday morning for their grand opening at 350 Highway 109 North in Lebanon. We will be there with great giveaways and free stuff. That's this Friday morning at the new Next Gen Dunkin' in Lebanon.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike three.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Bring it on, Chop. Let's go. You're listening to Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Pro Golf is coming to Nashville this September 14th through the 17th with the Simmons Bank Open at the Grove Club. Text the keyword birdie, BIRDIE, now to 615-737-1025 and enter to win a weekend pass for 4 to enjoy the event in style, including food and drinks. So text birdie right now if you would like to enter to win to go to the Simmons Bank Open. Those text lines are open now. But also, the Colts just came out and announced that Anthony Richardson will be the starter for Indianapolis over Gardner Minshew. And I don't know about you, Frazier, but that news to me, this early in the preseason and training camp, after what we saw in that first preseason game, it kind of makes me feel like the Colts are trying to double down on Richardson, you know? It seemed like, he struggled in that game, had some good passes, mostly checkdowns, nothing crazy. He had that one pass to Pierce that Pierce dropped. But outside of that, didn't look all that good, an awful interception. And now they're going to name him the starter after some criticism coming out about it. And not to mention, Gardner Minshew was 6 for 6 in that game and drove the ball down the field a little bit better, in my opinion. I kind of see this as the Colts are trying to uplift the kid and let him know, like, hey, you're our guy. But, I mean, is that the right decision for the Colts to do? I mean, I know we don't care, but I don't think it's a good move for the long term. I think they need to sit him and let him come in when it's natural rather than trying to force it and throw him into the fire immediately. I don't think that's a good move by the Indianapolis Colts there. But that's not what we were here to talk about. We'll probably get more into the NFL in hour number 2. But the story that really blew my mind yesterday is Michael Orr coming out and saying he never got adopted by the Toohey family. And not only that, but they tricked him when he was 18 back in 2004, allegedly, to make them, Sean and Leanne Toohey, the conservators, which allow them to make business deals in his name. How crazy is that? And apparently, the Toohey family allegedly made millions from this. Because according to the ESPN article that I'm reading this off of, they falsely claimed that they adopted him and used that to boast their fame, their foundation, Leanne's career as an author and a motivational speaker using that. Sean, apparently, the husband of the Toohey family, told the Daily Memphian, hope I'm saying that right, Memphian, that he was stunned by Orr's allegations and that the family didn't make any money off the movie. So a lot of Trouble in Paradise. I don't know if you remember going to see this movie. I remember going to see this movie in theaters. And how it really, like, I don't know, it taught me so much because, I was at such a young age back when this movie came out and the understanding of football. And I remember playing football back then, and I was kind of a bigger kid, so I had to be on the offensive line. I had the X on my helmet because, you had to be a certain way.
The black stripe.
That was a black stripe here.
Yeah, Pee-wee, it was black stripe.
We had X's on the back of our helmet that says, "Do not give this kid the ball. He is a brute. Don't give him the ball. He's too big." But I remember watching that and having to play offensive line at a young age, and then seeing that movie kind of changed my perspective. I was like, oh, at the college and pro level, the offensive line is cherished, and it kind of gave me a different perspective on things. Because I was like, I want to play running back, I want to play wide receiver, I want to play this, that, and in Little League, you can't do that. A lot of kids, even if they're bigger and athletic, they just couldn't run the ball because of their size. So that was something that really kind of changed my perspective on football. So, like, this movie was huge. It was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I mean, Sandra Bullock, didn't she win awards because of this movie?
Oh, yeah. Do you remember at, I think it was the ESPYs, Peyton Manning did, like, some sort of, like, jokingly skit. Like, he was like, some family has kidnapped me and put me behind a I don't know, some door or something. You don't remember that?
No, I don't.
I'll show it to you in the break. It was pretty funny.
But, yeah, so basically there has been a submission to Shelby County, Tennessee court about all of this and about Michael Orr being tricked into this. It's really sad. And I believe in order for him to legally sign that over to the Toohey family, he had to be 18. And according to the article, they had him sign this like a few months after he turned 18. So it looks pretty suspect on the Toohey end of things. And this is really sad because, that was such a feel-good story. A kid that's homeless, a kid that has nowhere to go. And a family takes him in and treats him as their own. And he winds up, going and playing SEC football and then gets drafted in the first round by the Ravens. I mean, this really puts a damper on things when it comes to this story. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
It is just crazy to think that you have somebody out there that everybody thought was doing a good thing for the world, and now it's turned to something completely different after, 10 years or 20 years, right? No, 10, 15 years?
It's been about almost 20 years. Almost 20 years. So it's getting close.
Wow, yeah. No, just hearing that, when I heard the news yesterday, I was like, "What? Wait, what?" Like that, it's still, I still can't wrap my head around just how it is all transpired, but I'm kind of lost for words at the situation. Terrible situation.
I kind of want to know, who else was involved in this? Were people with the school, the coaches?
I'm about to say the coaches, maybe?
Can they be, liable in some of this? I don't know. I don't know. I think there's a lot more meat to the bone with this, but it's definitely something to look forward to see, how this plays out. But coming up next, hour number 2 of the Chase McCabe Show, we are going to be talking Tennessee Titans, talking about some of the negatives that we took away from the preseason game, and look forward to some of these joint practices. You're listening again, the Chase McCabe Show on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
In any work environment, culture is the most important thing. And what makes up the culture? The people. Hey, this is General Manager Sean Ford with Cromwell Media. This month we want to highlight 2 individuals on our team celebrating their anniversary. First, Max Hers is celebrating over 5 years with us on 1025 The Game. And our president and owner, Bud Walters, is celebrating his 51st year with Cromwell Media. Thanks to you for the community you've built here. If you're looking for a new career, reach out to us at together@cromwellmedia.com. Love what you do, love where you work.
All of us at 102.5 and 106.3 The Game want to recognize our active military, veterans, first responders, and educators with the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
This is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Frazier with your Game Center update. A big game tonight in Music City as Nashville SC hosts Monterey in the League's Cup semifinals. Winner is guaranteed a Champions Cup spot for the 2024 season. Kickoff is set for 8:30 tonight. Here's Nashville SC's Shaq Moore on the mentality going into this semifinal matchup.
Yeah, like you said, it's definitely, a big game, big moment for the club. Obviously, we want to start, writing our own history into the club. We don't want to look too far, whether that's, the final or the Champions League spot. We definitely want to just focus on tomorrow, take it game by game, not look to the final, not look, too far ahead, and just focus on a result tomorrow against a very good Monterey team that plays good and that's, strong and, on a roll. So, that's our only focus right now.
Tune in this evening to 94.9 The Fan as the Nashville Sounds are back in action at home as they take on the Charlotte Knights, the AAA affiliate of the Chicago White Sox. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Ross Chastain will be first to finish in the Ally 500 at Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air.
Man, this is a win in the cup race.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Nashville. The suit is in the building. Acknowledge me. Are you ready? Ready? This is Chase McCabe on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hour number 2 of the Chase McCabe Show, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. But you can also watch the streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Download their app and use the promo code THEGAME today. Also, join 102.5 The Game and Robbie and Rex Road broadcasting from 6 to 9 for 2 Dunkin' grand openings here in Middle Tennessee. Friday, they'll be out at 350 Highway 190 South in Lebanon, and next Monday, they'll be out at 206 Indian Lake Boulevard in Hendersonville. Come out for coffee, food, and great opportunity to win prizes. All those things going on right here with 102.5 the game. Okay, let's get into what we teased before hour number 2. We talked about the positive takeaways that we saw from the Tennessee Titans in their game against the Chicago Bears, but not everything was rosy and peachy in that game. There are definitely some negative takeaways, and we spent most of yesterday's show talking about what everybody else wanted to talk about. We wanted to talk about the Malik Willis versus Will Levis backup quarterback competition, but there were other things that went on. A lot of good, but also some bad. And I think the first negative that I need to take away from the game is Hassan Haskins was really the only running back that couldn't get it going. I'm looking at the box score here. Also, like I said, watched this game probably about 3 or 4 times this past weekend, just kind of going over. And, Julius Chestnut showed a lot in that game. We talked about Tajay Spears in the first team, about how they came down and marched down the field. He had a lot to do with that. Every single running back in this game, Jonathan Ward included, who went down with an injury, averaged at least 4 yards a carry. The run blocking in this game was really good. But Hassan Haskins, 6 carries for 12 yards. He was very successful as a running back with Michigan, got drafted for his physicality. A lot of people were thinking that he could have the opportunity and the chance to be able to be the replacement for Derrick Henry one day. But last year, never averaged 4 yards a carry. Was looking for that breakout for him. Know he's going through a lot personally that has its own issues within itself. But strictly talking about on the field, Hassan Haskins did not show up. And for a guy that, they spent a 4th-round pick on at a position that, you didn't really need for the Nashville or the Tennessee Titans, I think it's kind of a bit of a disappointment that he hasn't been better, because what we saw in college when he was at Michigan was a lot better than this. The backup offensive line looks awful. I mean, they looked awful, Frazier, allowing 8 sacks, 4 between Willis and Levis individually. Willis was pressured on 40% of his dropbacks. Levis was in the 65% range of his dropbacks was pressured. Neither of those guys had a lot of opportunities to throw. Willis had, more of a percentage of clean pockets, but still, if you're getting pressured on more than 25% of your dropbacks, then there's a major issue. This team has a depth issue outside of the starting lineup, and even the starting lineup. They are going up against the Bears and not against the Bears studs. I know it's come out that the Bears were playing most of their starters, but a lot of those guys aren't on the defensive line. Like Yannick Ngakoue, their big free agent signing that they got last week, he did not play. Okay, these are backups that were really dominating the backup offensive line, and that was also the unit that the starters, had some success with. So it'll be really interesting to see how the starters go as well. Everybody knows that the offensive line in general is the issue with this team, and that needs to be tightened up because, again, they had 4 turnovers in this game, and a lot of that had to do with pressure. Levis's throw on the final play of the game had to do with pressure. Malik Willis on a strip sack, I thought he could have got the ball out a little bit quicker, but again, it had to do with pressure. So with all of that being said, the offensive line, the backup offensive line, if one of these guys goes down, the Titans are going to be in some big trouble, right where they were last year, because this offense is going to go how the offensive line goes. They got to get good blocking. They got to get good protection, or the signing of DeAndre Hopkins, the emergence of Chig and Treylon aren't going to matter a lot because Tannehill is going to be running for his life back there. You can't be doing that to a 36-year-old quarterback. I'm sorry, you just can't. So a lot to be left on the bone there. Backup defense was spotty. And, a lot of people are going to talk about the 2 screens. I'm not more or less as concerned about the 2 screen plays. On the second one in particular that went to Herbert, it was a double inside linebacker blitz, cover 0 on the back end. So everybody was matched up. And on top of that, Fields was supposed to get the ball out quicker, And the reason he didn't was because the pressure was getting into his face because of the oncoming blitz. He stepped out, which gave the offensive lineman opportunity to get 5 or 6 yards down the field already. And by the time Herbert caught it and started going upfield, those offensive linemen were engaged in blocks, 10-plus yards down. So that one was one. The one with DJ Moore, also a little bit fluky. I thought there was a block in the back on a backup DB. I'm not sure his name. But he kind of got blocked in the back a little bit. Could have called it. I think they should have called it, but they didn't. There was a bunch of missed calls. Even, same with Chris Moore's holding on Malik Willis's read option running touchdown. They didn't call that. I think they were kind of letting him play a little bit and not taking away with, iffy somewhat penalties. But either way, the defense allowed the Bears, I think, to move the ball at times a little too much. I have a lot of faith in the starting defense, but again, we saw what this defense was when injuries started to sit in last year, especially with the secondary. When you get guys back there that are not named, Christian Fulton, Amani Hooker, guys like that, there's going to be they led the NFL in allowed passing yards, so that has to be adjusted. But outside of the offensive line, I think the number one issue that I had with this team has to be the kicking battle between Caleb Shudak and Trey Wolff. Shudak, he hit the field goal to end the half, but I believe it was only a 41-yarder. And if he was backed up just even a little bit more, he would have missed that kick. Again, it's a make, and you're going to take that and the points any given day of the week. But at the same time, you gotta do better than that, because I feel like under 45 yards is a give me in today's NFL. And if you're barely making a 41-yarder that wouldn't have hit if it was from 44 or 45 yards, then we got a big issue. Trey Wolff had an opportunity at a 48-yard kick in the second half, and he absolutely shanked it. Like it wasn't even close. It was a really bad kick. And for a guy that has a big leg and has the upside, you need to see a little bit more from him. I had higher expectations for him. Easton Freeze had been in my ear all offseason about Trey Wolff, convincing me that he was likely going to be the guy. And honestly, it's really not looking like either of these guys are the guy. And, I know he barely made the field goal before halftime, but to open up the half, Caleb Shudak kicks the ball out of bounds. And you want to talk about putting your defense in an awful situation, giving an opposing offense the ball on the 40-yard line to begin the drive. That affects field positioning for the entire half almost. Like, you really have to make a game-changing play to flip the field, because if not, they're going to control field positioning all game long. So the kickers were a big issue for me. And it kind of goes into, everybody's talking about the offensive line, the starting offensive line getting dominated by the defense. And I'll explain how we'll figure that out before the regular season coming up here shortly in the next few segments, and kind of what I feel like the Titans are planning for this offseason to get a real gauge of the team. But the one thing that, it's definitely a positive, but not in the sense of trying to figure out who's going to make the team. I don't know about you, Frazier, but I felt like we saw a decent amount of production from a lot of receivers. Trayshawn Harrison, Racey McMath, Reggie Roberson, Kearis Jackson. All these guys made pretty nice plays. Even Mason Kinsey. Mason Kinsey had 4 catches for 10 yards, and one of those passes was thrown behind the line of scrimmage by Malik Willis, and he got tackled for roughly a yard or 2 gain. If that weren't the case, he probably would have had one of the better games of the day when it came to the wide receivers. But no one really stood out for me. And I was really hoping to see somebody kind of take the reins and say, this is my spot. I'm going to take this position, and I'm going to make this team. And I thought what I'd been hearing about Reggie Roberson from training camp, I thought it was going to be him. He had a few opportunities, and out of all of them, I don't think that he necessarily played the best. I think Kyrus Jackson and Trayshawn Harrison showed that when they get in the open field and their yards after catch, I mean, these guys can move. So I really liked what I saw from them. But overall, the depth of this team is a major concern. And when you're talking about a team that has led the NFL in injuries for the past 2 years, they can't afford it. They can't afford it because then it's just another wasted year. It's another wasted year. You brought Tannehill and Henry and Byard and all these guys back that you were rumored to move off of in the offseason for nothing. You will have brought them back for nothing. And I don't want to see that happen. You go out and get D-Hop. You refine the offensive line. It should be better than what we saw in the middle of the season last year. And plain and simple, if you deal with the same injury issues that you've been dealing for the last 2 years, it is going to kill this team. And they've got to find a way to stay healthy. Or they have to really be looking out on the waiver wire after the cuts are going to be made after the preseason to see who they can add from different areas and different places to really bolster this roster. Because overall, offense, defense, it doesn't really matter. The depth of this team in general is concerning to me. And with the history, I think it have some lasting impacts. Coming up next, we are going to get into the Titans preseason plan. They got 2 sets of joint practices the next 2 weeks against the Vikings and Patriots, and I'm going to explain why these 2 sets of practices are so important to gauge where this team is. You're listening to the Chase McCabe Show here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Come on. Join Robbie and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Trust your pets with Cottle Vet Clinic in East Nashville in the heart of Inglewood for compassionate care and your fur baby's optimal health. From vaccinations to health checkups with on-site pharmacy, teeth cleaning, grooming, and state-of-the-art surgical procedures, trust Cottle Vet, now offering boarding. Visit CottleVetClinic.com to learn more. We know you love your pet. And at Cottle Vet Clinic, pets are family.
When you want live and local.
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious
largest gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen. Rounds, ovals, radiance, cushion cuts, pear shapes, emerald cuts, princess cuts.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit one per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike three.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
You're listening to Chase McCabe.
He did not want to rehearse, and he wanted to leave as soon as possible.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Tune in for the Nashville Sounds baseball today at 6:35 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Charlotte Knights, AAA affiliate of the Chicago White Sox. Sounds baseball on 94.9 The Fan is presented by 312 Pizza Company, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. Also, call in right now to the Wilson County Hyundai phone line, 615-737-1025. Caller number 4 is going to win a pair of tickets to AEW Rampage tomorrow. So if you are caller number 4 right now, you will win a pair of tickets to AEW's Rampage tomorrow night. So we talked about the negatives from the Titans' preseason game against the Chicago Bears. And to be honest with you, the depth of this Titans team has always been a concern for me. But I really don't know where exactly this team is as a team, as a unit, when it comes to the offensive line. How elite can this defense truly be? Are they going to be a top 5 unit like we saw kind of towards the beginning of the year last year? Are they going to be just kind of like a top 10 unit? Or are they going to be kind of middle of the pack where they finished last year because they were dealing with some crucial injuries and key players like Jeffrey Simmons were not playing up to their level of play because they had an ailing injury all season long? I don't know. But this is why these joint practices are going to be very important. And I think they chose these particular teams for a reason. Because both of these teams have a specialty. When I think of the Minnesota Vikings, I think of Justin Jefferson and his connection with Kirk Cousins. They drafted Jordan Addison. They don't have Dalvin Cook anymore, but Minnesota has always had a really good running game, and they're going to be passing that over to Alexander Mattison, who's always been a good backup running back, a guy that's kind of a change of pace back, but now he's going to get a full-time opportunity to be the starter. So it'll be really interesting to see. And so I like this matchup in particular against Minnesota because they were, according to ESPN.com, the 7th-ranked offense in the league last year. And I think going up against the Titans defense, which I kind of think they're in that range, the way that Minnesota's offense is rated, I kind of see the Titans defense being in that area, borderline top 10. And I want to see where the Titans defense is. And so with this, I think it's going to be the perfect matchup. Kirk Cousins and this team, they like to air it out. Like I mentioned, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne last year, he had a solid year. TJ Hawkinson, they have a prolific passing offense. And also their offensive line is pretty good as well. I'd say, in the different outlets that I looked at, PFF, Pro Football Talk, a few other places, that they have also a borderline top 10 offensive line. So this is going to be a really good match, kind of strength on strength, to really test this defense against an opponent that they're not super familiar with playing against. So I look at that. Now let's look at their practice coming up next week, because I think this one's going to be a little bit more crucial to the Tennessee Titans. And that's because they're going up against Bill Belichick and the Patriots. And you're like, oh, well, the Patriots are supposed to kind of suck this year. And that might be the case. They might be the worst team in their division. They might be, one of the worst teams in the AFC just because of how good the AFC is, but the Patriots are still a solid team. With all that being said, the Patriots were ranked 8th among total defense last year, according to ESPN.com. So I think the Patriots, in seeing where they are compared to this Titans offense that just added DeAndre Hopkins and is hoping that a lot of these year 2 pass catchers, such as Traylon, Chig, Kyle Phillips, are going to come in and see what they got against a really top-tier unit. And for me, I think the Patriots' practice is especially more important just because typically you don't see a lot of starters in the final preseason game. That's typically for the guys that are going to be borderline on the roster, for the depth pieces, to really kind of nail out who's going to, finalize the final 53. And I think it's going to be crucial for the Titans to see this on the offensive end when it comes to matching up against the Patriots. Because the Patriots always seem to have a really good secondary. They always have a good pass rush. How is this offensive line going to hold up? And which receiver is going to show out against a really talented secondary? That's what's going to be important. And I think Mike Vrabel did this on purpose. You go to Minnesota, you're matched up against a really good offense, and you're going to test the strength of your team in this Titans defense. And then you come back home, and you're going to test your offense, which is going to be the weaker unit. And I wouldn't put them anywhere towards the top 10, but they're going to be going up against the top 10 unit and the New England Patriots. So I think this is all for the plan. Test the entire team. See who's going to stand out. See how they match up against these really good, refined units of the Vikings and the Patriots. And also just getting different bodies. I'm a believer in joint practices. I think they're good. I think they form a little camaraderie. I mean, we talk about camp battles all the time and how guys are going up against each other. We've seen Vrabel and how he has reacted to fights in camp. We've seen Jamarco Jones get let go because he can't keep his hands to himself, throwing Jeffrey Simmons into the sand pit to do some workouts, all of these things. So being able to not go up against your own team and go up against other guys from other teams not only gives you a different look, but I think builds more of a team camaraderie than we're going to be going at each other every single day. So another part of this that I have a question for, and you can text in your opinion, 615-737-1025, is do you think that doing joint practices, starters on starters, obviously, is going to be more important and show you more than playing in the preseason, in the actual game, in a stadium, with fans there? Do you think that you can genuinely supplement reps in a preseason game by just doing joint practice? And I ask this because, before they played against the Bears, they were hesitant to come out and say who was going to be the starter, the starting quarterback, and which starters were going to play. And ultimately, they played a decent amount of offensive starters. The entire starting offensive line played, and really the skill guys, Tannehill and Henry, all sat out. But then I was watching other teams, and seeing teams like Washington play their starters. I'm like, okay, Washington, they're on the outside looking in the playoffs. The Steelers, they were on the outside looking in, and they have a lot of young guys on their starting offense, and they need to get together. But what really opened my eyes to, I think the Titans should play some of their starters in the preseason, was seeing Patrick Mahomes go out there and play against the New Orleans Saints and actually play like a decent amount of time. And again, you can say, well, Junie, the Titans have led the league in injuries for the past couple years. Why would you want to risk, somebody getting hurt in the preseason when it doesn't matter, when you were just talking about the lack of depth on this team in general? And I agree with you. And I get where you're coming from. But at the same time, you have sat the starters every single preseason since COVID hit. And what has happened? you've still dealt with injuries. So what else do you have left to lose? I get it. You're in practice. It's going to be starters on starters. You're going to get to compete. You're going to get the looks. You're going to get the reps. But for me, the added pressure of being in the stadium, in that environment, in front of the fans, on TV, everybody gets to see it. You're not just hearing it from, Paul Kaharski, who's going to be out there and write an article about it. You're not going to just hear it from Jared Stillman, who's going out to Minneapolis and is going to be doing live shows from there, recapping everything they saw. You can see it, engage for yourself. And for me, when that added pressure is on, guys play different. And seeing Patrick Mahomes and the defending Super Bowl champions roll out there with their starters just to get a feel for the game in the preseason, and this is something that you haven't done as a team the last couple years, and yet you've still dealt with injuries, what do you have left to lose? 615-737-1025 is our phone and text line. I would like to hear your opinion. Does it actually matter if the Titans play their starters in preseason at all? It's an interesting concept. I think that they should. But if they don't, and it's just the starters playing in the practice, coming up next this week, I'm going to break down the top 5 matchups that I will be looking for and wanting to hear and read about as they go up to Minnesota and practice against the Vikings. We are going to get into that next. But before we go, your favorite game, Silly Underdogs Picks, is back. Sign up today at thegamenashville.com or 1025 The Game app. Silly Underdogs is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Superbook Sports. You're listening to the Chase McCabe Show here on 1025 and 1063 The Game.
They're homegrown in Nashville, discussing the biggest topics in the SEC.
The fans are going to want the rivalries to stick around. They've lost to Alabama every year.
The NFL.
What if all the top 3 quarterbacks went 1, 2, 3? You've got to draft your guy at 2.
And anything in between.
From thinking we know everything to then forgetting about everything we thought we knew the day before.
They're Jonathan Hutton and Chad Withrow on Outkick's Hot Mic.
Out of the gates, ready to go.
Weekdays from 2 to 5 on 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey, it's Jared for PhD Weight Loss. I love the PhD Weight Loss program, and I've already blown past the 20-pound mark this summer, and I've done it all while enjoying the things that we normally enjoy during the summer, like traveling and vacations. In fact, I feel like it's made training camp even easier for me. I love the PhD program because it's simple to understand and activate, and quite frankly, because it works. I feel so much better about myself because I feel in control of my weight, and I get excited when I continue to see my progress. If you are someone who has struggled to lose weight, go online to myphdweightloss.com and check it out for yourself. Learn about the program, the coaching, and, of course, the guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of the program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. That's PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers organization and fans, online at myphdweightloss.com.
Hey, it's John Tesh. You want to know how to get better rates, better coverage, and better service on your home and auto insurance? Work with Zander Insurance. I know it's a big promise, but this team delivers. They've been around for almost 100 years and have earned the privilege of representing dozens of insurance companies so they can shop, compare, and find you the best options available. More options mean more savings, and in many cases, better coverage. But it doesn't stop there. Each year, they review your coverage to make sure your rates stay competitive. Nobody else does that. And when it comes to service, just check out their ratings. Zander is one of the top agencies in the industry, and they earned that spot with their commitment to making sure their clients are taken care of like family. That's what sets them apart. Go to Zander.com for quick online quotes or call 800-356-1780 for that personal touch that you've been missing.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, do you need to listen on the go? Download the Game Nashville app from your app store today, and you can listen to us anywhere in the world. It's that simple. What an age we live in.
Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
I love this song, Frazier. I really do. I wanted to let it sit and play for a little bit. But join 102.5 The Game this Sunday for MTSU Athletics Fan Day. Fans can come out and see football, volleyball, and track and field teams as the fall season is weeks away. You can get autographs, enjoy live music, along with inflatables, face painting, and balloon artists for the kids. The fun will be at Floyd Stadium from 3 to 5 this Sunday. You won't want to miss out. Welcome back into the Chase McCabe Show. Junior Riddle in for Chase McCabe. Nick Frazier out there behind the glass. The Titans are not practicing today because they are going to be heading up to Minneapolis for joint practices against the Minnesota Vikings. So, these are big opportunities because we know, and like we mentioned last segment, that the Titans do not like to play their starters in preseason games. I am against that, but that is how they are. So the fact that they're at least doing these joint practices, I am for. And like I alluded to last segment as well, they're doing this for a reason. They're trying to get good looks. And this week, for me, is all about how good this defense is going to actually be. I think that's what we're primarily going to be looking at here. So, I did a top 5 matchups to look for and read about in the Titans joint practice against the Minnesota. Frazier, let's kick it off.
Number 5.
The Titans passing game against the Minnesota Vikings secondary. I know I was talking about defense, but that is why this is number 5, okay? When we talked about the Titans going up against the Chicago Bears, the thing I wanted to see was our first team offensive line dominate the Bears' defensive front. And to me, they didn't dominate, but they definitely won. They definitely won. Because why? That's the weak unit against their weak unit. This is the same thing here. The Titans are going to struggle against a lot of pass rushes this year from what we have seen with the tackle situation at training camp. I want to see not only how these Titan receivers go up against a lackluster secondary of the Minnesota Vikings outside of Harrison Smith, but Harrison Smith isn't really known as a ball hawk safety. So, I want to see DeAndre Hopkins get in the mix. I want to see Treylon Burks, Chigakonkwo. I want to see all these guys out there making plays. Because against this team, it should be weakness versus weakness. So I am looking forward to see Ryan Tannehill and these receivers having a good day against the Minnesota secondary that isn't as good. Again, their only really significantly good player in their secondary is Harrison Smith. And he's not a ball hawk. So these young receivers, along with DeAndre Hopkins, they need to show out. And I am very much so looking forward to it. All right, Frazier.
Number 4.
Titans D-line versus their O-line. Or the Vikings O-line, I should say. Again, we just went weakness on weakness. This is going to be strength on strength. The Titans' front 7 is the strength of this team and will carry this team to success if the Titans are going to be good this year. So I need to see them going up against a borderline top 10 unit in order to see if they have what it takes. Christian Darrisaw, the left tackle for the Minnesota Vikings, individually, if I'm going for an individual matchup here, Arden Key has been taking Andre Dillard's lunch money when it comes to training camp practices. What is Arden Key, a guy that has been known as a pass rush specialist and really more of a guy that comes in on third down, now that he is signed with the Tennessee Titans and is expected to be a 3-down edge rusher, How is he going to look going up against, in my opinion, is a top 5 left tackle in Christian Darrisaw for the Minnesota Vikings? That is what I want to see there. All right, Frazier, moving on.
Number 3.
Everybody compares these two quarterbacks because everybody puts them in the same class. Kirk Cousins versus Ryan Tannehill. Who's going to look better? Who is going to look better? Because the strength of the Vikings is their offense. So it's going to be strength versus strength going up against the Titans' defense. The weakness of the Vikings, they can't get crucial stops. They get torched in the passing game. I mean, look what Daniel Jones did to this team in the playoffs. I know we talked a lot about Saquon Barkley, but Daniel Jones had a really good game against Minnesota in that wild card matchup. Who is going to look better? In my opinion, I think Tannehill should look better than Kirk Cousins in these practices. I think he should. The matchup dictates it. I truly believe that the Titans' defensive front should get after Kirk Cousins and disrupt this offense. With the lackluster defense that the Vikings have, this is an opportunity for this offense to not only produce and show what they got, but to gain confidence within themselves. If the Vikings can get torched by Daniel Jones and the New York Giants in the playoffs, what is it going to say if you can't go out there and make plays against this unit? All right, going into the top 2.
Number 2.
Danielle Hunter versus Andre Dillard. I want to see these two go at it. Listen, Andre Dillard has been getting worked by Arden Key. We just talked about it. What is he going to do against Danielle Hunter? Danielle Hunter was looking for a contract. He was looking to get re-signed. He was trying to sit out for the Minnesota Vikings. They didn't know if they were going to get it done. You know, there were rumors about him getting traded to multiple different points. I want to see how Andre Dillard holds up against this guy. Because if this team is going to be successful, honing in on the offensive line in particular, I need Andre Dillard to show out against a proven edge rusher in Danielle Hunter. And to finalize this list, I think this is what everybody is excited for.
Number 1.
Number 1, you can kind of overlook this and say the Titans secondary versus the Minnesota Vikings receiving core, but there is one matchup in particular that I am looking at, and that is Christian Fulton versus Justin Jefferson. 2 LSU products going back at it again. Christian Fulton's had a great camp. He's had a great camp by all means, going back and forth with DeAndre Hopkins. There are times that he's breaking up passes, and even on the catches that DeAndre's made and have gone viral on Twitter, Christian Fulton's still playing some pretty damn good defense. I'm looking forward to see how he matches up with the player that a lot of people are calling the best wide receiver in the NFL. I think Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the NFL. How does Christian Fulton match up to him? We talked about this. A few weeks ago on our weekend show, Frazier, we brought up the stats. In games that were missing Christian Fulton or Amani Hooker in some of those games last year, how much yardage this Titans defense averaged letting up was about 60 to 70 more yards per game without those guys. If this defense is going to be the top unit that Titans fans expect it to be, you need Christian Fulton to be on his A game and be a true number 1 corner. And that starts with these practices against Justin Jefferson and the Minnesota Vikings. Also, a very underrated matchup when it comes to the Titans secondary versus the Minnesota Vikings wide receiver. I don't know if you caught any of last Thursday's preseason games, but I said it. I vouched for this guy. And this is a guy that I honestly kind of wanted the Titans to look at in the first round, is Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison, in my opinion, is the best receiver coming out of the draft this year. He primarily likes to line up in the slot and create from there. If they're going to be putting Roger McCreary in the slot with the starting defense, it's going to be a really good young player matchup to watch those two guys go at it. So, Frazier, what do you think of the list? What stood out to you? And is there anything that I'm missing that you really want to see when these two teams go at it in practice?
I just really want to see how the secondary does personally. Like, that's my biggest fear, is the secondary depth and just the potential. Like you mentioned, prime right on the head, Christian Fulton and Justin Jefferson. That is a matchup that I believe everybody, even the Titans fan, LSU fan, whoever, that is the matchup of the preseason that I want to see.
Absolutely. Coming up next, we are going to put a wrap and a bow on things with the show. There's something came out yesterday, the AP Top 25 in college football, that I kind of want to dive into and really encompasses about how I feel about all of this realignment. We're going to do that and talk about some more of the headlines that have been coming out throughout the show. But before we go, join 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and come out to the 10th annual Williamson County Battle of the Badges blood drive tomorrow. Every 2 seconds, somebody is in need of blood, so stop by the Brentwood Library at 8109 Concord Road from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., sponsored by B.L. Harbert International. You're listening to the Chase McCabe Show here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
New home. New energy. Same Blue Raiders.
99 yards! Touchdown, Middle Tennessee!
Catch every game for MTSU on 93.3 Classic Hits. Coach Rick Stockstill is poised to lead his team to yet another bowl appearance.
We're really excited about this opportunity.
Your home for the Blue Raiders is 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. The official brand perception report for doors and windows is in. Pella Windows and Doors are the leading brand among all others. A few reasons why. Pella is regarded as the highest quality, the most innovative, and the installers with Pella of Nashville lead the way for attention to detail. That's why Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville is one of Pella's top locations in the country. For new doors or windows, I suggest you choose the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaNashville.com.
Men, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, our urologists and providers have been helping guys with erectile dysfunction and other sexual health issues for years. And unlike some, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we take a comprehensive approach to your sexual health. Our sole focus is to treat ED and related conditions. ED can be affected by a bunch of things, from hormones, prostate issues, medical conditions, and even simply aging. The fact is, most guys experience it at some point in life. If you're suffering with ED, it's extremely important to see a provider that understands how your medical conditions, hormone levels, and other factors can impact your ability to have sex. That's why you should come to the Tennessee Men's Clinic, where we have treatments that are effective in nearly 90% of cases. I can't tell you how many guys we've seen that thought their situation was hopeless, only to be wildly surprised. So give us a call today. We'll do some blood work with a T-check and a medical consult to give you the best shot at success. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices, Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen. Rounds, ovals, radiance, cushion cuts, pear shapes, emerald cuts, princess cuts.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit 1 per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
So you're in the middle of a kitchen update, and you can't tell if that's a faucet stem or a flange. With the Home Depot app, doing doesn't miss a beat. It'll find what you need in a snap, and it'll show you how to find it in store with a tap. Or get it delivered free. For doing that doesn't stop, download the Home Depot app. It's made for doing.
Hey, did you tune in late? It's okay. It happens. You can subscribe to the Chase McCabe podcast wherever you get your podcasts. iTunes, Spotify, doesn't matter. Rate, subscribe, and review today.
Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Final segment of today's show. Junie Riddle in for Chase McCabe. Nick Frazier in the producing chair, running the 1s and 2s. And I got to tell you, every single year I always look forward to the release of college football's AP Top 25 poll. And this year, I was looking forward to it just a little bit extra. And I'm going to tell you why. Yesterday when it came out, I made a few observations. And that is how, really, for the most part, equally represented the Power 5 conferences are in the AP's initial top 25. And again, these rankings are going to change, obviously. I mean, there's going to be a lot of teams that are in the top 25 right now that aren't going to be here by the end of the year. But to kick off, it just kind of shows you the state of college football and programs and what people think going into the season. And we all know that college football is going to change forever next year when conference realignment's really going to set in. The Pac-12 is likely no longer even going to be a thing. And also, the college football playoff expands to 12 teams. And so, the AP Top 25 by conference, here are the numbers. Starting off with the SEC, they have 6 teams in the top 25. And honestly, 2 of those are at the very tail end of it, which would be Texas A&M and Ole Miss. I believe they are 22nd and 23rd in the ranking, so barely scraping in there. The ACC had 3, which is really no surprise. They're kind of the weakest Power 5 football conference at the moment right now. The Big Ten had 5. Okay, no shock there as well. You know, your same old teams that are typically there: Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and a few others. The Big 12, which are having 2 of their teams leave, are in the top 25 as well. So they have 4 total. And then this is the big shocker right here. The Pac-12 has 5 ranked teams. The Pac-12, the conference that's no longer going to be here after this season, more than likely, unless somebody comes in and somehow saves it, which I don't know how, because they're not going to be considered a Pac-12 or a Power 5 conference if they merge with the Mountain West. They're just not. They don't have the legitimacy. Stanford can't carry you that much. Oregon State can't do that. But it just goes to show you that it's really balanced as it is right now. I get it. Like, there's always been the SEC's better than everybody else. And there's always been a conference that has been a little bit weaker than everybody else. This year's the ACC. 10, 15 years ago was the Big East. But other than that, we talked about this. We talked about how many top 25 finishes and how many national championship appearances that the conferences have had since 2000 a few weeks ago on my show on the weekend. And when it comes to the ACC, Big 12, Big 10, and Pac-12, relatively they all have the same numbers. They all have the same appearances. So for me, with NIL and the transfer portal and how easy it is for a program to go from having a really bad season to all of a sudden they're in contention, this bothers me a lot because now it's just going to whitewash a lot of these programs that are going to be stuck in these major conferences that can never get out. Because everybody's going to be wanting to go to these conferences. Everybody's going to want to go to the big conference, and everybody's going to want to go to the big brands that's going to get you the most NIL deals and the most money. And some of these teams that are going to be on the bottom of these conferences that, you know, every once in a while they would have a year that they break through, they're no longer going to break through. The Big Ten, I think about like Maryland and Rutgers. Now that, you know, the 4 top teams from the Pac-12 are coming in, those guys are never going to have a chance. Those guys are never going to have a chance. I think about the SEC. I think about Vanderbilt. I think about Missouri. I think about programs like that. They're not going to compete when you have Texas and Oklahoma already coming in to the best college football conference there is out there. And not to mention this. What's going to happen to mid-majors? I went to a mid-major school. I went to Western Kentucky, and we've had a solid mid-major football program for the last 10 years. And I remember my freshman year, we beat Vanderbilt in Vanderbilt. We lost to Indiana, and this was actually a pretty good Indiana team, in overtime. And then they lost at LSU. And so when they were that season, I believe they finished 11-2, and they finished 24th in the nation. Are we ever going to see a mid-major like that compete in the new college football? I don't know. I don't know how they're going to, because when college football is all spread out and conferences are really aligned with what makes sense geographically, that gives opportunity for players to go to small schools and develop and break out, and for some of those schools to have special teams like that. I don't know about you, but I just really feel like this is ruining the dynamic of college football. And I was starting to get over it. Frazier, like look at me. I seriously was like, you know what? Maybe it won't be that bad. You know, the ACC has been down. The Pac-12, they kind of did it to themselves. Like I was convincing myself. The Big 12 hadn't been that great of a conference in a while. But then seeing this and then looking how still we're going into the final season of how modern-day college football still is, and then now it's all going to change, and all these teams that are ranked in their different conferences and how spread out it is and how balanced it is and how much it makes sense regionally, I don't know. It just brings it back over me, the frustration levels. And for you, I mean, you went to MTSU. MTSU, they've had a solid football program under Stockstill for a while. Like, what do you think this is going to do to that program?
I mean, it's definitely going to, I guess, single out those kind of mid-major schools of like, hey, you need to figure something out. And I believe when Chase McCabe and Joe Dubin were on, when they were out at MTSU, they had on, you know, the AD and Coach Stock, and, you know, they even talked about and discussed, you know, this is a situation that has to be solved in some capacity. So I honestly, if it's me and if I were on the committee, I would definitely put these mid-major schools in some form of maybe their own college football playoff. I mean, yeah, there are some that do compete, and if that is, then they should branch out from being a mid-major and join these power conferences.
But even then, like I mentioned, the teams and the schools, the programs that are the bottom of these, I don't see how they really get up and beat the big boys that are in their conferences. It's almost like they're placeholders, you know?
Well, then if that's the case, then do what FCS does, and they do their like 16-team playoff, and like the higher seed hosts the game, their own like playoff game. I would love that.
I would tell you this. I would be all for like the mid-major conferences having their own playoff, because here's what's going to happen. And I think I was all for the 12-team playoff with the conferences how they are. But here's how it's going to go down. Everybody's like, 12-team playoff. There's more opportunity to get into the playoffs. And so now you're thinking like, okay, if there's more opportunity to do that, well, what's the best opportunity? Going to a mid-major, that's not your best opportunity. You're going to want to go play in one of these power conferences. And so, I don't know. I just think they're ruining the balance. And I think looking at this college football season and some of the stars and how they're spread out, there's a lot of good teams in a lot of different conferences. And it makes realignment hurt for me just a little bit more. But hey, that's all the time we have. Really appreciate Chase McCabe for letting me fill in for him yesterday and today. He will be back in the chair tomorrow. You're listening to the Chase McCabe Show. Junior Riddle filling in here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace are next.
All the big plays.
And we are done. Vandy 20.